Hello there, Ash here from Jedha Workshop. So I thought I'd do a little video of some how to weather. It's a really simple technique, but its results are awesome. So as you can see, this helmet has already been weathered. This is an old one I made a few years ago, and I put it up for a competition, and a lovely person called Dom won it, and I asked them, hey, can I update it with some sort of new techniques of weathering that I've learned and improved along the way? And they said, yeah, cool, go for it. So we're going to do it. Now, normally, if you have a clean white clone helmet, you would do a black wash. And what a black wash is a black acrylic paint that you dilute down massively, and then you brush it all over the helmet, and you get it into all the grooves and the cracks, and then you just wipe it straight off. So you just get like a moderate layer of kind of dirt and grime, and you start off with that. This helmet already has that, so we don't need to do it. We're going to just dive straight in with the next bits. However, I noticed there's a few things that need updating also. As you can see, I'm just cutting out a little template of paper to protect the visor because that's all solidly glued in there, so I'm not going to remove it. But if we cover it up, we can start painting and doing stuff on it. And look at this, the vents on the back are white, and this is a Return of the Sith shaped helmet, so they're meant to be grey, so we need to sort that out. So I'm just going to sand it a little bit, just so it has a nice key for some paint, and start masking it up. Now obviously you don't have to cover the entire helmet, you can just, you know, protect its surroundings for this tiny little bit. Get some grey paint on there, nice, done, just peel it straight off. Right, I also noticed that the ear compad had fallen off, and it looks like I just stuck it back on with a bit of blue tack for my display, so let's sort that out, shall we? We'll just get rid of the old glue and stick some Gorilla Glue on there, sand it all off, and tape it back on, let it dry. And as you can see, I'm sanding the areas I'm gonna glue again so they have a nice key. Pop it in there. Oh wait, it doesn't actually fit. So I've got my trusty soldering iron. We're just going to melt the edges because PLA plastic melts really, really quickly. Sometimes too quickly, so you have to be careful. But it's a useful way of just expanding areas to get things to fit, basically. Boom. Dab of Gorilla Glue. Bob is your uncle. Right, whilst I've got my soldering iron out, I'm going to improve these two scars that Captain Hauser has. Obviously, we've only seen Captain Hauser in, not the Clone Wars, I think it was the first season of Bad Batch, wasn't it? And the Clone Wars has this beautiful texturing on it of paint on and stuff, but this is a live action shape helmet, so I want some live action shaped scarring. So I'm going to melt into the helmet a little bit, just so it has these nice scars and sort of bubbles up. And we're going to paint it silver later, and it'll just look dead more realistic. Right, what we're going to do next is use some high coat matte lacquer all over the helmet. We've got the visor protected, remember, so it doesn't matter if this gets anywhere else. And this will make sense later. I know you're meant to do this at the end, but the technique we're going to use sort of relies on the base being protected with the extra weathering we're going to put on top. It will make sense, I promise. I know it's mental, but just trust me. So this is matte lacquer all over the helmet. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes to dry, and then we're good to start going with the weathering. So we're going to use an airbrush, and I'm going to start with some candy brown as the first layer. Pour that in there. A little bit thinner, mix it up, test it. Let's go. Right, you want to start off with following all the lines of the helmet, basically where dirt and grime would naturally accumulate. I can never say that word properly. As you can see, I'm not being very careful. I'm just literally just blobbing it on, and all the perfectionist OCD artists will be going, what on earth is he doing? This makes no sense at all. But trust me, it will make sense in a bit. Be careful to an extent, but you don't have to be crazy, concisely careful, because we're gonna do something in a bit which will make much more sense to this kind of just slapping it on there, okay? And make sure you do get every line, because if you miss parts out, it starts to look weird, you know, if it's dirty in one area and not in another. So do get in all the grooves, all the lines, and every edge. inside the cheeks there, along the bottom collar. As I say, this is a Revenge of the Sith helmet, so it has that. Inside the aerators and the vocoder, don't forget those bits. And I even go around the sort of contours of the bulbs on the front and the mouth and the nose grill. I even follow some top lines where, you know, like along the contours of the edge of the cheeks, where dirt wouldn't necessarily be, but it does help to bed it in and highlight things. Don't forget the mohawk. Oh, and the, you know, all important bit of the compad on the ear underneath that tape there. I'm doing some deeper layers down the deeper grooves, so I've done everywhere, and I'm just sort of checking and going along any edges that might need a little bit extra, because the airbrushes can be a little bit inconsistent, and I'm just doubling up in areas where I think there would be more dirt and grime. Again, I'm not being crazy careful. Right, next we're going to swap for some black in the airbrush. Bit thinner, mix it up, and you want to follow every single line that you've just done with the brown and just go over the top with it. You can go a little bit of a finer spray, so that you know, I said I wasn't very careful with the brown because I wanted it to spread out, because I'm going to layer it on top with black, and that's going to be a sort of main dirt weathering line. So you obviously want the brown to spread out underneath it and mix it up a bit, but again, it doesn't really matter. You don't have to be too careful with this step. Just get it on there basically in a fairly consistent fashion, following the lines, contours, grooves of the helmet. Again, just following every line, the inside of the grey band. Right, I'm now going to do a little bit of extra black on the paint chips. So obviously under there, it started off as white, and then I used a bit of liquid latex to retain that white and spray the beautiful turquoise colour on top, peel the liquid latex, and then you've got some nice realistic paint chips. So I'm adding some black weathering to those bits, so it looks like dirt and grime has got in there as well. Or you can do a bit extra where it feels a bit more like blaster fire, sort of the, you know, the cauterization. And then I'm going around those bits with a little bit of folded 120 sandpaper to then put lines within the black weathering that I've just sprayed on. That then gives a negative space, sort of additional layer to your weathering. Don't forget the insides of the vocoders and vocoder and aerators again. Along the nose grill. Boom, right. That's done for this stage. Some people are really happy with just that. You know, when I first got an airbrush, I was like, whoa, my game has stepped up. But we're going to take it to the next level, because I think it looks a little bit like a cake. So we're going to get some isopropyl alcohol, put it on a rag, and this is why we sprayed it with matte lacquer first, because iso alcohol, if you rub on it too much, it will start to take off the base layers like the white and the turquoise. However, because we protected it with the matte lacquer, all it's going to do is sort of work with the brown and black weathering that we've just put on with the airbrush. And what you want to do is sort of smudge it back towards each line, so you're almost cleaning the sort of larger open space, and you're smudging the brown and black back towards itself, so it looks even more realistic, like grime and dirt and mud and crap has just accumulated in the realistic spots that it would realistically accumulate, you know? And it just gives a really nice extra effect. I'll show some close-ups in a bit, but yeah, there you go, completely different. And to me, it takes your weathering up to the next level, you know, up a notch. And again, I wasn't too careful about those grooves on the ears, but with the ISO, I can clean it off on the outside, and it stays in the grooves on the inside. And you know, you can be a bit more artistic about this point, be more careful with the bits that you take off, the parts that you leave on, how you smudge it. You know, again, you can, the texture of the cloth, you can actually put that within the weathering. Again, like I used with the sandpaper to carve out sort of negative space within the dark bits of the black and the brown. And just go around it, and this is where you want to be patient and take a bit more time to just finesse it, basically. And again, I'm sort of cleaning the wider, more open space areas and just focusing on smudging the lines back. Here's a close-up of sort of the technique of how you can get the texture of the cloth that you use in there. And again, this is the negative space use of sandpaper going through the darkness of the black. You know, I wanted to create like blaster fire basically and scratches, and this adds another layer to accentuate that weathering even more. Basically, it's like, you know, I don't know if you've ever edited an image with photography on Photoshop, you know, using dodge and burn. You basically want to concentrate on the dark areas and the light areas, because that makes your helmet pop. It makes all the lines and the contours pop, but it also adds that extra level, you know, layer of realism to it. Just going around the top band of the helmet there. And again, you know, I said make sure you get the brown and the black on every line and contour, otherwise it looks weird. Exactly the same with this. Don't leave some sort of airbrushed and the rest smudged. Do it all, because it really lends to the, you know, the authenticity and the consistency of your weathering. Right, I said we were going to paint those scars, so I'm using some liquid chrome. It's a paint pen. Gives a really nice reflective finish at the end there, and I'm just pressing it down to sort of drain it deeper in those valleys. I'm also going to go over the aerators with the pen. It's not the most ideal thing. Normally I would spray this so it doesn't collect within the little holes, but if it does, you can sort of press it down and get rid of it a little bit. I'm also going to go along the edges of all the black bits, the vocoder, the compads, because this gives, these are your highlights, you know. Remember I said you work with shadows and highlights? If you go along the edges with a chrome paint pen, it just, again, lends to its realism and it looks like chipped metal. Going to do the same thing along the edges of the black band. As you can see, this is quite a fat chrome paint pen, so I've got it at an angle, so I'm just really lightly going on the very edge of it. Also, these grills, the nose grill is meant to be silver, and it looks like I used black originally, so I'm just going to sort of update them. Finish this little guy off. Boom. Oh, that's satisfying. Remove the visor template, and I'm just going to clean that with a bit of ISO. And done. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Ash from Jedha Workshop. Please like, comment, share, message, subscribe, all that jazz. Cheers. Namaste. This is the way. Peace.